Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday. Time for AA. If you would like to come up on the panel with me today, please grab that link that's in the chat on Facebook, or not on Facebook, on YouTube. And if you come into my basement, which basement is down below where mine is, but I'm already up on panel. But if you pop up in my basement, I can bring you up and you can talk or read or share part of your story, whichever. Just please don't pass any judgment in the chat or after the live stream, because it's a judgment-free zone for an AA meeting. So just be aware of that. And just know that not everybody that comes into an AA meeting is an alcoholic. They might be wanting to learn things to maybe help a friend or family member to get sober. Because, the family members or the friends that already know about their alcoholic friend or family member, they just don't know how to deal with them or us as being drunk and maybe possibly starting our sobriety journey. So it does help them as well. And I also use AA to help me to not smoke. I have been cigarette free for almost 2 years. March will be 2 years, no cigarettes, and I don't miss them. I do have a craving every now and then, but that's about it. It comes into my brain and leaves just as quick as it came in. Like, nope, I can't do that. I already have enough breathing issues. I don't need to keep adding to it. So, anyway, enough of me rambling. I'm Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And I always put in the description what book we're reading and what page and story we're on, because I'm in the 4th edition and it's probably on a different page, so So this is number 5, The Vicious Cycle. How it finally broke a Southerner's abstinency and destined this salesman to start AA in Philadelphia. January 8th, 1938, that was my D-Day. The place, Washington, D.C. This last real merry-go-round had started the day before Christmas, and I had really accomplished a lot in those 14 days. First, my new wife had walked out, baggage, and furniture. Then the apartment landlord had thrown me out of the empty apartment, and the finish was the loss of an other job. After a couple of days in dollar hotels and one night in the pokey, I finally landed on my mother's doorstep, shaking apart. With several days' beard and, of course, broke as usual, many of these same things had happened to me many times before. But this time they had all descended together. For me, this was it. Here I was, 39 years old and a complete washout. Nothing had worked. Mother would take me in only if I stayed locked in a small storeroom and gave her my clothes and shoes. We had played this game before. This is the way Jackie found me, laying on a cot in my skivvies, with hot and cold sweats, pounding heart, and that awful itch, scratchiness all over. Somehow I had always managed to avoid DT. I seriously doubt I ever would have asked for help, but Fitz, an old school friend of mine, had persuaded Jackie to call on me. Had he come 2 or 3 days later, I think I would have thrown him out, but he hit when I was open for anything. Jackie arrived about 7 in the evening and talked until 3 a.m. I don't remember much of what he said, but I did realize that here was another guy exactly like me. He had been in the same laughing academics and the same jails, known the same loss of jobs, same frustrations, same boredom and the loss of jobs. Same frustration and boredom. Sorry, I already read that. And the same loneliness in anything. He had known all of them or had known all of them even better and more often. I'm tongue tied today. More often than I. Yet he was happy, relaxed, confident, and laughing. That night, for the first time in my life, I really let down my hair and admitted my general loneliness. Jackie told me about a group of fellows in New York, of whom my old friend Fitz was one who had the same problem I had and who, by working together to help each other, were now not drinking and were happy like himself. He said nothing about God or a higher power, but I brushed that off. That was for the birds, not for me. Okay, so he said something about them. Little more of our talk stayed in my memory, but I do know I slept I slept the rest of that night, while before I had never known what a real night's sleep was. This was my introduction to this. understanding fellowship. Although it was to be more than a year later before our society was to bear the name Alcoholics Anonymous, all of us in AA know the treatment or tremendous happiness that is in our sobriety. But there are also tragedies. My sponsor, Jackie, was one of these. He brought in many of our original members, yet he himself could not make it and died of alcoholism. The lesson of his death still remains with me, yet I often wonder what what would have happened to if somebody else had made that first call on me. So I always say that as long as I remember January 8th, that is how long I will remain sober. The age-old question in AA is which came first, the neurosis or the alcoholism? I like to think I was fairly normal before alcohol took over. My early life was spent in Baltimore, where my father was a physician and a grain merchant. My family lived in very prosperous circumstances, and while parents drank, sometimes too much, neither was an alcoholic. Father was a very well integrated person, and while mother was high strung and a bit selfish, and our home life was reasonably harmonious. There were 4 of us children, and although both of my brothers later became alcoholics, one died of alcoholism. My sister has never taken a drink in her life. Until I was 13, I attended public schools with regular promotions and average grades. I have never shown any particular talents, nor have I had any really frustrating ambitions. At 13, I was packed off to a very fine Protestant boarding school in Virginia, where I stayed for 4 years, graduating without any special achievements. In sports, I made the track and tennis teams. I got along well with the other boys and had a fairly large circle of acquaintances, but no intimate friends. I was never homesick and was always pretty self-sufficient. However, here I probably took my first step toward my coming alcoholism by developing a terrific aversion to all churches and established religions. At this school, we had Bible readings before each meal and church service 4 times on Sunday. And I became so rebellious at this that I swore I would never join or go to any church except for weddings or funerals or for funerals. At 17, I entered the university really to satisfy my father, who wanted me to study medicine there as he had. That is where I had my first drink. And I still remember it, for every first drink afterwards did exactly the same trick. I could feel it go right through every bit of my body and down to my very toes. But each drink after the first seemed to become less effective. And after 3 or 4, they all seemed like water. I was never a hilarious drunk. The more I drank, the quieter I got. And the drunker I got, the harder I fought to stay sober. So it is clear that I never had any fun out of drinking. I would be the soberest seeming one in the crowd, and all of a sudden, I would be the drunkest. Even that first night, I blacked out, which leads me to believe that I was an alcoholic from my very first drink. The first year in college, I just got by in my studies. I majored in poker and drinking. I refused to join any fraternity as I wanted to be a freelance, and that year my drinking was confirmed to one night stands. Once or twice a week. The second year, my drinking was more or less restricted to weekends, but I was nearly kicked out for scholarist failure. I got the fan on way over there, and I'm still roasting. And I have the dog snoring on me. He's right over here on my legs, making me sweat to death. Making it hot, dude. In the spring of 1917, in order to be being fired from school, I became patriotic and joined the army. I am one of the lads who came out of the service with a lower rank than when I went in. I had been to ATC the previous summer, so I went into the army as a sergeant, but I came out a private. And you really have to be unusual to do that. In the next 2 years, I washed more pans and peeled more potatoes than any other doughboy in the army. I became a periodic alcoholic. The periods always coming whenever I could make the opportunity. However, I did manage to keep out of the guardhouse. My last bout in the army lasted from November 5th to 11th, 1918. We heard by wireless on the 5th that the armistice would be signed the next day. This was a permanent report, so I had a couple of cognacs to celebrate. Then I hopped the truck and went AWOL. My next conscious memory was in Bar-le-Duc, many miles from base. It was November 11th, and bells were ringing and whistles blowing for the real armistice. There I was, unshaven, clothes torn and dirty, with no recollection of wandering all over France, but, of course, a hero to the local French. Back at camp, all was forgiven because it was the end. But in the light of what I have since learned, I know I was a confirmed alcoholic at 19. Let's see how long this one is. It's got a few pages still. With the war over and the back And back in Baltimore with the folks, I had several small jobs for 3 years. And then I went to work soliciting as one of the first 10 employees of a new national finance company. What an opportunity. I shot to pieces there. This company now does a volume of over $3 billion annually. 3 years later, at 25, I opened and operated their Philadelphia office and was earning more than I ever have since. I was the fair-haired boy, all right, but 2 years later, I was blacklisted as an irresponsible drunk. It doesn't take long, and that's the fact. It doesn't. My next job was in sales promotion for an oil company in Mississippi, where I promptly became high man and got lots of pats on the back. Then I turned two company cars over in a short time, and bingo, fired again. Oddly enough, the big shot who fired me from this company was one of the first men I met when I later joined the New York AA group. He had also gone all the way through the ringer and had been dry 2 years when I saw him again. After the oil job blew up, I went back to Baltimore and mother, my first wife having said a permanent goodbye. Then came a sales job with a national tire company. I recognized their city sales policy, and 18 months later, when I was 30, they offered me the branch managership. As part of this promotion, they sent me to their national convention in Atlantic City to tell the big wheels how I'd done it. At this time, I was holding what drinking I did do down to weekends, but I hadn't had a drink at all in a month. I checked into my hotel room and then noticed a placard tucked under the glass on the bureau stating, "There will be positively no drinking at this convention," signed by the president of the company. That did it. Who, me? The big shot? The only salesman invited to talk at the convention? The man who was going to take over one of their biggest branches come Monday? I'd show him who was boss. No one in that company saw me again. 10 days later, I was wired my resignation. I'll read the next paragraph and then we'll talk about it. As long as things were tough and the job a challenge, I could always manage to hold on pretty well. But as soon as I learned the combination, got the puzzle under control, and the boss to pat me on the back, I was gone again. Routine jobs bored me, but I would take on the toughest one I could find and work day and night until I had it under control. Then it would become tedious and I'd lose all interest in it. I could never be bothered with the following thought. Bothered with the follow through and would invariably reward myself for my efforts with that first. drink. So even back then for him, he knew not to take that first drink. Where am I? Oh, he knew not to do that first drink. And we know now that through this whole time, we know that that first drink is what it is the bad part. Because if we don't take that first drink, we don't drink. And it's always been that first drink that gets us into the drinking mode. And I learned that right after I started AA, because I was in a program and am in a program that I wanted to have it work. I want to keep it to work. And that's why I do these meetings, is because I'm helping others while helping myself. And the only way you can do that is when you go and get sober too. And when you first get there, you're going to feel out of place. And I know I did, for sure. Just a minute. So in all of these stories, and this is why I know it works, because going through these stories and learning that they work for other people gives you the hope that it'll work for you. When I first started AA, I knew about AA. I'd never been to a meeting for myself. I was a kid when I went to my first meeting with my father, my birth father, that is, who has passed on. But AA has helped me become who I am now. And I know I can be me without alcohol. And the me that I am is I'm caring, I'm thoughtful, and I don't say my fake feelings. And if people don't like things that I say, like my son and I got into an argument yesterday, and it's not as me being mean, because I do know that this little boy looks exactly like my son. You heard that right. I'm a grandma. I've known for a long time that I could be a grandma. And I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed to be that kid's grandma. And my son brought him here on Friday, and I was just in shock because I had no clue that he was coming. I had no clue that they were having a DNA done. I had no clue any of this stuff was going on. And they showed up with him. They're back together. And they showed up here with my grandkid. And then on Sunday, I think it was Sunday. No, it was Saturday. I don't know what day it was. It's been like a crazy weekend. But they brought my granddaughter. Um, I claim her as my granddaughter, and I will until I'm gone. Because those kids are so sweet, and I'm not going to claim one and not the other one. And they're great kids. It's going to take me a while to get used to being a grandma. But I'm excited because I get to spoil them. I get to have them come and hang out with me. I get to take them places. I get to have their birthdays, be able to have all those times. And I get to start being grandma to him now. It's hard to not think about the past few years, but at the same time, he's not an adult yet. So I still have a long ways to be able to spoil him and spoil his sister too. So I'm really excited about it. But yeah, AA has been, like I said, a lot of things happen, good and bad. When you're sober, you can have your true feelings, and that's the best part. I have been doing the self-pity thing. Like, I want people to be like, reach out to me first, because I feel like I'm always reaching out to people and nobody reaches out to me first, which that's just being selfish, and I shouldn't be like that. So I'm acknowledging that right now during an AA meeting because it's one of the steps. But yeah, I want to tell everybody Merry Christmas. I have not been in the Christmas mode at all. I got gifts, and that's about it. My husband put up our tree the other day. I think it was Sunday. Was it Sunday? Yeah, I think it was Sunday, and had my granddaughter decorate it. It's so cool. The first time I've had Chris's grandma's Christmas tree out for about 12 years, 13 years. So it's been a while. Well, it's going to be a good year. 2026, here we come. It's going to be great. I get to spend time with my grandkids and my friends and my sons and my daughter-in-law. I only say that because my son is like, yeah. But like I said, they were together before, and he loved her then, and he has not stopped loving her. And I can't control what he does. I can just be happy for him. I have to accept it. So I do. I'm excited. I'm a grandma. I've always wanted to be a grandma. I thought, well, I'll keep dyeing my hair until I'm a grandma. And I haven't dyed my hair in about a year. So, anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas. I will not be live this Thursday. It's going to be a crazy week. We've got my son coming over here because both of my kids are going to come here, I guess, and do our Christmas. And tomorrow, and then Thursday, we are going to my parents' house to have Christmas with my parents and my sister / niece, and my twin sister and her husband, and my boys. I'm not sure if my anybody else is going to be there. So, but remember, you don't have to drink, um, and make sure you have a escape route planned if you can. I know I always do. So, um, anyways, I love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Let's say the Serenity Prayer, and I'll see you guys on the next one, which will be right before New Year's. So, I love you guys. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you guys.